Well, how's it going, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Project Time Tech. Today, we've got this awesome vintage IBM ThinkPad laptop from around 1994, maybe 1995, somewhere like that. This is a 755 CSE, and it's either Windows 3.1 or Windows 95. I'm not sure which. I bought this thing, it was over a year ago at an estate sale, and I've yet to even turn it on and mess with it. The best I can remember, I think I remember asking them about this and they thought it had Windows 3.1 or it has Windows 95. I don't really remember the conversation and I don't remember what they said exactly. Today we're going to find out if anything happens with it or not. If you have watched any of my other videos, you'll know that I've started a collection of ultra mobile PCs. You know, like the Sony Vaio up there, and the Toshiba Librettos, and that class or that size of laptop. And I was trying to get one from each Windows generation, starting from the earliest one I could find, which was Windows 95 on the Libretto, and worked my way all the way up to Windows 11. And that's really been a fun project. I've really enjoyed collecting all this stuff. I have a real affinity for that 90s vintage technology, because that's the era that I kind of cut my teeth in. I was an IT support guy, back when Windows 3.1 was changing over to Windows 95, and I've been kind of a support guy all of my adult life, I guess. So this is kind of what I enjoy. Anyway, I thought, well, that was such fun collecting that stuff that maybe I should start a collection of vintage laptops and kind of work forward from, maybe Windows 3.1 at the earliest, all the way forward through maybe Windows XP. We'll see if I can get one from each generation. Not really as concerned with the Windows 10, 11 stuff because, well, I've got 40 of those things laying around, and I'm not really concerned about just the DOS ones. Although I do have a couple of those humongous luggable machines that have the CRT built in and all that, so we might put one of those on the channel at some point. Anyway, back to this. This will be the first entry into the vintage laptop collection, and man, what a score it is, because it's an IBM ThinkPad, and these things just kind of have a cult following. I think they're so cool, especially these rugged square things that you can either use as a notebook or a paperweight, or you can bludgeon someone to death with them, I guess, if you really wanted to. So in today's video, we're going to go over this thing. We're going to have a look at it, kind of learn a little bit about it, find out what it has in terms of ports, see what's broken, what isn't broken, see what works and what doesn't work, and then we'll go ahead and boot the thing up and see if we can get into Windows, and I guess more importantly, see what version of Windows it even has. If I can get it up and going, I'm probably immediately going to just go ahead and image this drive, because it's 30 years old. It can't possibly have a long life left ahead of it. Two schools of thought on the whole imaging drives and vintage laptops. Part of me thinks, well, keep it original, keep it completely OG. But the thing is, at some point it's going to die. And whatever software was on there is going to die too. So you're going to be back to reloading Windows from scratch, and it's going to be kind of vanilla, because I have yet to run across one of these old machines that it was easy to find the factory recovery software, to put all those cool little things on there that the factory put on them. And on these old machines, more times than not, I've found all that stuff to still be intact. That's kind of cool. Now, at the time, it was annoying as could be, and you just wanted to get rid of it. But now that you're looking at them for historic value and not necessarily for the value of usage, tends to be something that I seek. So anyway, at least at the end of the day, I'll have a fresh hard drive in there. I'll do one of the little King spec parallel SSDs. It'll boot a whole lot better, and it'll run a whole lot better. And I can take the original drive that was in this thing and just bag it and put it with the machine. End of the day, if we ever want to go back to the mechanical drive, nothing's stopping us. It's completely reversible. So I guess without further ado, let's jump into this thing. Let's see what all it's got, and then let's get it booted up. So this is it, the IBM ThinkPad 755 CSE. I believe this was released in the 1994-1995 time range. This particular one has a 486 DX4 processor running at 100 megahertz. It was offered with 8 megabytes of RAM, expandable to 24 megs. It had an onboard video controller, which was a Western Digital 90C24 with a meg of RAM. Has a 10.4-inch VGA dual scan display with separate contrast and brightness controls, mechanical. We have a plethora of lights indicating pretty much everything the machine could possibly ever do. There is a hardware wheel for volume, a full keyboard, which feels pretty good to type on actually. This is a probably one of the better keyboards that I've experienced on a laptop. Not really squishy, not really spongy, nice loud clicks. I have the IBM famous mouse here with the orange top on it. Left and right mouse buttons here at the leading edge. On the front, we have our 1.4 floppy drive. And on the side, we have the right screen lid lock, a Kensington lock, and this would be your PCMCIA slots. There are 2 of them. I believe these are type 2 PCMCIA. Also, we have a PS2 port for a PS2 mouse. On the back, we have a window that slides open to reveal the dock connector, or the entire thing latches down. And behind here we have a VGA port, a parallel port, and a 9-pin serial. We have the power port here, which is a 20-volt proprietary power brick, which thankfully we do have. And we also have an IR port. That's a throwback to the good old days of wireless communication, huh? Coming on here to the driver's side, we have the power rocker, and we have a lid here that flips up for the speaker, the mic, and the modem jack connection for the phone line. And over here we have the left side lid release mechanism. On the bottom, we have these 2 feet that flip down to provide a little more ergonomics when you're typing. It has that famous IBM rubberized coating on it that always gets sticky over time. This one isn't too bad yet, but I noticed that up here seems to be worse than anywhere else on the laptop. As a result, it's collecting dust like an absolute magnet. So cleaning it should be rather satisfying. So let's plug it up and see what happens. We don't have a power light or a charging light. Oh, we sort of do. So that's the first thing we're probably going to have to fix, because maybe we do have power, and maybe that's just what happens when you plug it up. I don't see a battery charging indicator. Well, let's see what happens when we hit the power switch. Oh, yes, yes indeed. Things are happening. That screen does not look happy, does it? It's getting happier. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Look at this. PC-DOS 6.3. It's starting all by itself. Actually, the drive doesn't sound bad. There we go. And it's going to be Windows 3.1. What do you know? Program Manager, Games, Main, Reprint, Reuters Money, M-Wave ThinkPad. So look, it does have some IBM stuff installed. America Online, what version is that? Will it actually launch? I'm already deviating. I said I would immediately get an image of it. Clearly, I'm not doing that. Because the drive actually really does sound good. Confirm your telephone number. Let's just cancel that and see if we can jump in here and see what version we're running here. Screen name. Look, was anybody using this? No, it doesn't appear. Can I do help about with this window open? I can. AOL version 1.1. Heck yeah. Now how cool is that? Wow. So this thing does have some stuff on it. Before this thing gives up the ghost, let's go ahead and shut it down and get the hard drive out of it and get it imaged. All right, let's get the hard drive out of this thing. And if you've never taken the hard drive out of some of these really old IBMs, you're in for a treat because it is a epic process. First thing you need to do is squeeze this tab. And you got to get this side worked up. Then you go over to this side of the machine, do the same thing. And open the lid. That's pretty cool. We're missing a battery. Bet that's why the battery light didn't come on. Anyway, to remove the hard drive, you can grab these two blue things here, lift them up, pull up on the drive like that, and it just comes out. And we can gently set this thing aside. And this is our hard drive caddy. I'm sure the hard drive is in there encased with all kinds of scary wonderfulness. I've never actually had one of these apart any further than this. So at this point, it's a learning process, but I assume it looks something like this. So it actually looks like the whole thing closes up on it, on itself there. There we go. So I'm just gonna run in there on both sides. Tell you what, that's a precision fit there. Wonder if there are screws under this. There are screws under this. So I bet this would have made the job just a ton easier a second ago, huh? If I'd known about that. Back here. So that's got a nut on the bottom side, or a nut, and that appears to be all that holds it. And there it goes again, just a little nut. Hard drive. Excellent. Now is the hard drive, okay, that folds down. There's the drive. IBM 540 meg. So I think the biggest drive that this thing could have had would have been an 800 or an 810 or something like that. But anyway, so I assume this is just a standard parallel ATA drive. Let's try to get it unplugged without destroying it. All right, here's what we have. So we're not going to avoid our warranty by taking that off for sure. Okay, let's set about the process of cloning this. In order to take the image of the drive and put the image back, we're going to be using this really cool old vintage Panasonic Toughbook CF18 running Windows XP, and we'll be using a rather ancient version of Make Room Reflect in order to actually do the work. There'll be a video on this in the future as well. As for the drive, I have a collection of these 32 gig parallel drives, IDE drives, and that's what I'll be using for this. And in order to actually attach the drive to the computer, I'll be using this little multi drive caddy deal here. So it'll do 3.5, 2.5, or SATA drives, and hook those to your computer. I'll go ahead and leave a link down in the description below to Amazon if you guys are doing this kind of stuff. These King Spec drives have worked very well for me in the past, and this little thing here is dirt cheap, and you know, if it breaks, who cares? It's done about a dozen machines, so really good stuff. All right, let me get set up and we will do some work here. Now with our original drive connected into our sled, and I went ahead and powered it externally too, because I have a feeling this thing draws a little bit of current. We're plugged into the Toughbook, and it immediately sees the drive. So at this point, let's jump over, fire up Make Room Reflect, and take an image. With Make Room Reflect up, we see our internal C drive here on this PC, and then we see our D drive. And I'm just going to do backup, create an image. We'll next here. And the disk I'd like to image is going to be this right here. I'll just select the entire disk. The capacity is 513 megabytes. It's got 34 megs free. Next. And destination is going to be a just on the local hard drive. Let's browse out here and put this on Documents and Settings, Administrator. Everybody knows where I'm going here, right? The desktop, because that's where you put everything. The desktop. There it is. And the file name, I won't use the image ID. I'll just use, we'll use the name 755 IBM. Just so we can keep it straight. Next. And finish. And we're going to run it now, but I'm not going to save the backup because I will probably never do this again. No point. And the backup is started. Now we wait. All right, and with that, we're complete. It took 7 minutes, 15 seconds to get the image. Be interesting to see if the SSD, or how much faster the SSD will be, I should say. Now we have our new drive in the caddy, plugged back into the computer. We will launch Make Room Reflect, and we'll go the other way. Back into Make Room Reflect. We're going to go up here and choose Restore an Image. I have the world's slowest mouse, bear with me. And I'm too lazy to go and speed it up in Control Panel, so there's that. We have this recent location here, Desktop, which is going to contain a couple of images here, in fact. Here's the one that we did today. So we'll choose this one. And the partition that we want to restore, the disk that we want to restore is this one. We'll choose next. And where do we want to put it is going to be down here on disk 3, this unallocated empty 29.818 gigabyte hard drive. Next. Here we're going to choose to make it the active partition because we're going to boot the OS from it. We'll choose next. At this point, Makeroom understands that, well, the drive that we're putting it on is way huger than what we had before. So it gives us the option to resize this. And in this case, I think I am going to resize it out to the 810 megabyte, which would have been the biggest version of hard drive that this laptop would have came with back in the day. How close can I get to that? 807.93 megabytes. That's close enough. Next. And we'll assign a drive letter. We really don't care. And I don't really care about checking file system integrity because this is not, mission critical data. It's going to be best effort. And I'm not even going to verify the image. No, thank you. And I'm going to actually go ahead and replace the master boot record if one exists anyway, which one shouldn't exist on this drive since it is brand new. And we will finish. And we're off to the races. As you can tell, this is going to get done way faster probably. Well, okay. I would say that was a little bit quicker. All right. We'll close up Reflect. And while we're at it, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and let's use a little bit more of the space on this drive. We can make another partition on it. And I'll go into Disk Mangler to mangle my disk. And it is this D drive down here, unallocated, new partition, primary partition, and I don't know, let's make another 1 gig partition out here, and we'll call this storage. We'll do a quick format in FAT. Now, I've got an extra 1 gig of storage on this drive should I ever need it, which I probably won't, but it's there. All right, let's get this returned to the machine and make sure it boots. Well, I guess you can tell by the state of my desk here that some things have transpired. None of them good things, actually. So, just to give you a quick overview of what happens here, when I boot this machine up with the drive in it, whether or not you can read this screen, I don't know, but I get a 1990302 error, which basically means that it's really aggravated that it doesn't like the hard drive that's in it. And the only thing that I could really think of, by the way, this is where we're at right now. I've actually pulled the drive out of the caddy, but here's where we are. Here's what I've figured out. If I pop this thing out of here, the one thing that I noticed, boy, that is just a great interference fit right there. The one thing I noticed about this little PETA drive was that, you know, it had the jumper selecting. I assume that it was selecting master. I can't really find any documentation to tell me what the jumper was doing on this end, but I assume it was the master or slave or open would be cable select. So this this connector here, you know, goes all the way over. So I assume that the board is selecting master or slave or cable select. I tried it with nothing, and I tried actually putting some solder between these, basically jumping it at this point to force it to select master. Still no love. No matter what I did, nothing worked there. Could stick this drive back in there and it would boot right up. So it wasn't an issue with this for sure. And so I'm assuming that the only issue is the controller on board here. Now I have reflashed this thing again and reflashed it right down exactly the way it was, 514 megabytes. Still no love. So when you boot one of these machines up, if you're holding the F1 key down, oh, yeah, you'll get this error if the keyboard is lifted up, because there's a switch down here for the keyboard. So you have to make sure that that is pushed down. There. So we can get into setup. And when you go over to, I was over looking at hard drives and tests and things like that. And I was looking at the startup sequence. And one of the things that I noticed was I had an option to boot from PCMCIA. That's interesting, because I just happened to have a PCMCIA adapter and a 2 gig verbatim card. So I popped this thing in the other machine and quickly wrote out the backup file to it, and lo and behold, it actually works. So it took a lot of doing to get to this point, but so far it works. Let me reset all this, and I'm going to select floppy drive as my primary, PCMCIA as my second. This thing even supports network boot, which, given the age, I guess I'm surprised about that, but maybe I shouldn't be, I don't know. And I'm going to restart this thing. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and plug in the PCMCIA card completely, because I didn't do that. And let's do a quick restart. And okay. By the way, this thing has 8 megs of RAM. So it could actually probably use an upgrade maybe. And automatically rebooting PC-DOS. I'll get an error about the hibernation file. Well, I say that it boots, but maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Did we try it again? No, this thing is locked smooth up, isn't it? Oh yeah, it's really, really unhappy. Finally, I ran across one more issue where it would boot to the DOS start, the PC DOS start screen from the PCMCIA device, and it would ask me to choose, you know, how I wanted to start the machine, but it would hang immediately after I made any choice, any of the 3 choices at all, unless this was hooked up. If I plugged this thing in, then it would boot up just fine. So I'm not really sure what it was looking for there, but I did find a line in the config sys, I believe it was, and I'll show you what that line was that I had to unremark. Basically allowing it to use the compact flash card as a disk drive is what it boils down to. So anyway, with all of that done, we can actually turn the machine on, cross our fingers, hope everything is done just right, and maybe possibly boot this machine finally on some kind of solid state drive. So we'll start with PCMCIA support. And there we go. That's a pretty quick boot. Now, I think the thing to do is go through it and see what kind of software it has on it and see what kind of software we want to put on it. That should be a fun thing to do. Well, now that all that's done, let's have a look and see what's on this. Rackley rating. Oh boy, there's a lot of information on this actually. So obviously this was insurance. I'm assuming. Financial asset builder, high sales, field technology project. It's nice and empty. Ooh, what do we have for antivirus? Good old IBM AV. Not sure I know anything about that. To check your system for viruses now, push here. Wow. I think I'm just going to skip that. Thinkpad. Power display alarm. Ooh, there's a lot of stuff there. Thinkpad setup. Fuel. We have no fuel right now for sure. No batteries. Flight disk, what is that? Oh, that's cool. So it's you can I guess you can book airlines and stuff from here. Definitely a business person's laptop, huh? IBM tools, online book, comfort and productivity. Backup, scheduler, and delete. Thinkpad setup. What do it have for games? Probably the old Minesweeper and Solitaire, of course. Monologue. What is that? Monologue 8-bit. Sample.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Ooh. Let's turn the volume up on this. All the way to the top. There we go. Sample.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Volume. More.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
How about some speed?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Pitch.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
What if we get mean?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
I like it. Monologue for Windows. Huh. Okay. Oh, that's running. I think I'm going to close that. Assumably that just is text to speech, I guess. Replica. What is replica? Uses for replica. I see. So basically it's just a way of getting documents between machines. All they need is this piece of software, I guess. Let's see what's starting up when the machine starts nutting. ThinkPad presentation. So I guess this is for like connecting to projectors and such. We know what's under accessories, and we think we know what's under main. Yeah. Reprint. Let's try to chat. I want to chat. Well, I guess we're not going to be chatting since we can't initialize the modem. Well, now that all that's done, I've taken some time and I've gone through and I've cleaned up some of the junk that's on the drive, deleted some of the programs that were taking up a lot of room. And I really am actually kind of enjoying this PCMCIA card because I can just pop it out and make changes. But I went ahead and created myself a software directory out there and put a few things that, you know, that I thought would be cool to install and play around with, like, oh, Microsoft Bob, right? Let's have a look at this. See what we've got, shall we? How many of you guys remember Microsoft Bob? A pretty spectacular failure on Microsoft's part. Just wasn't well received. And I mean, I guess it was kind of a cool idea, especially for the time. You know, it was no, we're not going to let this start automatically for sure. It was a little bit annoying, but I guess the idea was kind of cool. It was kind of, you know, kind of a neat thing, but it just wasn't, it just wasn't well received. We'll restart here in a minute. Because for now, we've got more things to install, like Johnny Castaway. This is another one of those things where no old Windows installation is complete without something from Screen Antics. Let's test it and see if it works. Come on, Johnny, where you at? There you are. Awesome. I didn't really hear any sound, but let's see. Sounds, okay. Start of day for us would be 8 a.m., for example. Okay. There's that. Last thing I have is Microsoft Flight Simulator 4. And I don't know how well or if this is going to run at all, but we'll try it. Let's see, fs4.exe. I guess we launch with a batch file, don't we? Go through questions. Select processor type. Oh, it's at least a 386. And we have VGA color, so we're going to choose M. Normal flight mode. Environmental conditions used. Let's just use some random weather. Function keys on the top. Log flight time. No, I don't care to log my flight time. Mouse selection. Do you want to use the mouse? Sure. Do you want to use a joystick? No, because I don't got one. Here we are. Sounds great, doesn't it? Now, I don't know anything about this. Okay. Well, I am not going to be playing this until I learn more about it because I have never played Flight Simulator in my life. But hey, it loads up, so, you know, there's that. All right. The only thing I guess we haven't really tried is Microsoft Bob. Let's close out of this and have a look at Bob. Roberto. Oh, I need to, I think I need to reboot this thing, don't I? Or at least restart Windows. Maybe I should probably just do a full-on Control-Alt-Delete. Quick reboot. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I deleted that earlier. I got to go in and clean that up. Now what about Boob? Ah, yes. Testing for optimal display. Good morning. Click on the door. Oh, that's the Gateway 2000 edition. Well, my name isn't on the list, Bob. I am new to the home. Next. Rover. No password. Keep it blank. Good Lord, I'm not giving all this information just to check this. Pacific. Look, you some privacy. I want mine to be a garage. That's my private room. Hold on a sec. Setting up your home. Nice one, project. Skip for now. Skip it. Yikes. See you inside. I'll be there, Rover. Just hold tight. And there we are. Microsoft Bob. Yes, I know. So we have our time. We have our fireplace. Decorative object. We can change it. Change look. You put it in a weird place. But anyway, yeah, this is Bob, and then we can like click on these doorknobs and go to other places. We can go to another room, for example. Public mouse hole. Well, let's go to the mouse hole. That's interesting. Well, that's neat. We're now a mouse. Anyway, about as cheesy as it gets for Microsoft Bob, but that's going to be enough of that. Well, that's going to wrap the project up. It actually turned out pretty well, you know. Seems to be a reliable machine. It boots and runs every time. Don't have a whole lot of hard drive space left, but I'm going to take care of that coming up. I will probably resize this PC card and make it a little bit bigger. And I actually may look and see about finding a little bit bigger or a little bit different variation of the SSD to see if I can make a different one boot. I know there's been some weird compatibility issues with certain chipsets and certain of the older of the IDE drives didn't really want to play nice together, but that may be something we do in the future. I'd like to also find a junk battery for it and go ahead and you know, maybe move the cells out of it or go ahead and replace the cells in it. I ended up with the hard drive. I ended up putting it back in here. I just put some tape over the header connector and put it back in there, so at least it's back in the machine. It just doesn't make any contact, so it's not spinning up. The only anomaly I've got with the machine at this point that I probably won't solve is on this PC card, this compact flash adapter, I have a couple of partitions, or I have one extra partition made on that compact flash card. That's about 800 megs, and I just was going to throw some software on there so it's easier to move stuff back and forth. But for whatever reason, it doesn't show up. I assumed that maybe it was the last drive thing, but I have last drive Z at this point and can fix this, and it still doesn't care. In fact, when I go in and look at File Manager, it shows like A, B, C, D, and E, and maybe F there, but none of those are actual drives. Even if I don't have anything else plugged in, it still shows that many drives. So I'm not sure what it's doing or what it's thinking, but it's not a problem I'm really worried about solving. At this point, the machine works. It's up, it's going. I feel like anytime I want to get it out, I can boot it up, mess with it, and not have to worry about losing a drive. So that wraps up the project, guys. Hope you got something out of this. I hope you guys learned something, because I know I did. Anytime I fool with this stuff, it's like having to relearn it all over again, and you forget what you were, you forget what you used to know, right? It's not like riding a bicycle so much. So that's going to wrap the project up, guys. Until next time, thanks for watching.